Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the sixth edition of the world's largest Fintech festival, Global Fintech Fest 2025. And it's session number 5. It is a masterclass, the BRISKPE XPI Playbook, Smarter, Faster Cross-Border Payments Driven by APIs. Joining us are Mr. Indunath Chaudhary, co-founder and COO BRISKPE, and Mr. Nilesh Pathak, co-founder and CPTO BRISKPE. Ladies and gentlemen, please give them a big round of applause.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all had lunch. At least those who had lunch may feel sleepy. So we'll try to keep you awake. And welcome to this session. We are going to talk about XPI Playbook. My partner, Nilesh Pathak, he heads the technology and product vertical. Nilesh has experience, 25 years plus experience with bank and cross-border payment firms. He was with JP Morgan, heading their technology vertical. Then he was global CTO for Neom. And we started this firm 2 years back. I come from Citi and ICICI, and I look at the sales and partnership and operations business. So welcome to this session. We'll just get going. XPI Playbook, Smarter, Faster Cross-Border Payments Driven by APIs. I'm sure all of you may have heard about APIs. Anybody who would like to explain what API is?
Application programming interface. It connects two systems with different technology platforms. It connects them and make it talk.
Perfect. Thank you. Anyone else who would like to make another attempt? Okay, so I feel post-lunch session are still sleepy. So we'll try to make it more engaging. Next question. Is API an infrastructure or interface? Anyone? Can be both. Okay. And can you explain? Anybody who is saying both?
It started as an interface to talk between two systems, but as and when systems grew, it became a very integral part of the infrastructure. So serverless infrastructure, service-based infrastructure. So API became a very integral part of the infrastructure. We cannot say it's not infrastructure. So that's why.
Okay. Thanks for your response. Anyone else who came late? We were discussing about API. Is API an infrastructure or interface? Anyone else who would like to make an attempt? I heard somebody saying interface. Okay. I'll not answer anything. But let's go through the flow and clarify ourselves whether it is interface or infrastructure. The big question. Let's look at the image on the right side. What does it look like? A building? Yeah. And on the left side is a door. Building is parallel to infrastructure because a lot of things happen inside. It could be school building, it could be hospital, it could be corporate office, it could be custom house as such. And the gate is an entry door to that. So if you look at further definition of the same, if somebody has to move into that infrastructure, has to use the gate to enter the same. So door essentially is an API, which is giving you access to the infrastructure. The answer you gave first. API is an interface which gives you access to the infrastructure. In this case, building is infrastructure. Okay, let's do a deep dive to banking infrastructure. I'll take an example and let's try to understand. There is a brand, ICICI Bank. I'm sure most of you would be aware of the same. Then there is a POS machine that a lot of merchants of ICICI Bank use. It's a product or a solution which is given by the bank. Same way, There is an ATM machine, which we all use to draw cash or deposit cash. These are essentially service component, but they have micro infrastructure. They are micro infrastructure themselves. So if we look at the POS machine, it is not manufactured or made by ICICI. It is built by Ingenico. There are many machine providers who have built the whole hardware, and there is a software that actually takes instruction to operate the machine whenever we swipe the card, whether it is tap, whether it is insert the card, you enter the PIN. Then there are APIs which run at the back end. So this is a service component, but a POS machine itself is a mini infrastructure in itself, which is produced by someone and used by the bank. Same way, if we look at the ATM machine, manufactured by Euronet, NCR, there are many manufacturers, and all the banks in the world use them. But these are service component, though they are micro infrastructure in itself. Tata Communications, one of the partner of ICICI Bank, provides them data center. So data center is an infrastructure that ICICI Bank uses. So how do these connect? Bank, to run a particular solution, has to have a core infrastructure at the center. So whether it is POS machine, whether it is ATM, or whether the data that bank handles in transit or at rest, both. These have to be managed through a platform or infrastructure which is provided by Infosys. ICICI uses Finacle as its core banking solution, and all the services, all the products that it offers are essentially connected to Infosys. So their core infrastructure that they use, or technology infrastructure that they use, is Finacle. We are going through these micro details just to clarify ourselves in a better manner what an infrastructure is. Because in market, as you said, API can be infrastructure and interface both. No, API is interface. Market is full of players, fintechs or otherwise, who essentially say, we give you infrastructure, but essentially they are not giving you infrastructure. They are giving you an interface. Why is it critical to understand? Is essentially this: a product that you see, the POS machine that you see, an ATM that you see, is not a core infrastructure that bank is offering. So the definition of infrastructure changes with respect to the entity which is offering the same to you. We talked about micro infrastructure, ATM machine, micro infrastructure, POS machine. They themselves are micro infrastructure if we talk in the context of Ingenico, but that's not an infrastructure if it is spoke in context of ICICI Bank. Classic example, as you said, APIs are very critical because majority of the applications or hardwares essentially run based on APIs. This API essentially gives you access to a particular service which is a micro component in the whole infrastructure. So reselling, again, I can't take a lot of names, but there are many companies. They say, we are giving you payments infrastructure, but what are they doing? They do not have an infrastructure. What they have done, they have taken a service from a global bank or domestic bank and started giving it to you. Parallel could be DSA. DSA who is selling personal loan or home loan. Usne kya banaya? He has not built anything. He has taken it from someone and started giving it to you. They may have a beautiful dashboard to show status of your loan application, which they fetch from the core element of the bank and then show you the status. But that user interface that you see is not infrastructure. That's user interface only. Let's not complicate that. Coming to the core topic about BRISKPE. If you look at BRISKPE is a cross-border payment aggregator as well as cross-border payments infrastructure provider. It is licensed by Reserve Bank of India for inward and outward transaction. Till date, there is no other company which is offering cross-border payments infrastructure in India. We consume microservices of different players from global markets and then start showing an interface to the market. What is the biggest challenge in the whole process? If it is a reselling of a service, then if the master contract or service contract is cancelled by the service provider, the whole infrastructure is down. Technically, just one service cannot pull down the whole infrastructure. Then it is not infrastructure. Infrastructure should be capable enough in itself to contain multiple services, have backups. Like payment gateway is one of the classic example. There are card processors who offer the whole infrastructure. If there is, say, I'll take an example. If you go to, say, Amazon to buy something, and you see pay you checkout page over there, that being down, card transactions get declined or no response. It switches automatically to an alternative. Again, that switches alternatively to a different provider. Now, in this manner, the infrastructure which is managing this whole transaction can be called in true sense an infrastructure. Just one provider, one service, it's a product. It's a solution given by one company, but that is not infra. That can be infra for that company, क्योंकि उन्होंने अपने use के लिए बनाया है. But it cannot be infra in general that can be called in the market. How do we go to previous one? Previous one पे पीछे वाले पे कैसे जाएंगे? Last page. एक बार last page पे कर देना. So we are talking about the export and import market in the country. पीछे वाले page पे. Last page, back. So we as a country do $821 billion of exports and $915 billion of imports. This was last financial year number published by the government. In multiple talks by various ministers, we have seen that we intend or target to take this export to $2 trillion. आएगा कहाँ से? Where will it come from? The same players who are operating in the market will essentially start exporting or importing. That is what is going to give growth to this market. Now look at who is serving this market today. If you are an exporter of goods or service, a lot of time, there is a confusion in the market. Exporter of service do not identify themselves as exporter. They call themselves a service provider. But in legal definition of the government, when you are exporting services, selling services or software or goods, you are an exporter. Whether you are an individual or a non-individual, in both cases. There are 128 banks in the country, of which who actually process 95% plus cross-border payments today, whether it is retail or it is business, both. There are 51 banks which are smaller tier. They cannot handle the foreign currency exchange. At the same time, we have 44 foreign banks, 21 private sector banks, and 12 public sector banks who are serving this market. So essentially, 5% fintechs who are giving this solution, is it fair to rely on them to take the export to 3 times in 5 years' time? Technically, very difficult, until unless the solution is available to each and every participant in the market. Let's talk about how cross-border payments have evolved. There was a pre-liberalization area or post-liberalization area. We call it internally cross-border XB 1.0. When foreign banks started coming into India, foreign currency reserves started going up. To take an example, say State Bank of India tied up with Citibank or JP Morgan to offer the foreign currency holding, Nostro accounts were opened, again, foreign currency transactions started happening seamlessly. But this era was predominantly or dominated by the banks. Then market started changing. The market started changing with different use cases. The trade which was happening between you and me when we meet at a marketplace started changing its form and shape. This was called e-commerce marketplaces. When the buyer and seller were interacting digitally, or in case of marketplaces likes of Amazon Global Selling and all, they were not interacting with each other. There was a platform which was interacting independently with both of them. That gave birth to a lot of fintechs because newer use cases were coming up, banks were not able to solve for, or even if banks were able to solve for, there was a longer gestation period, longer investment period, or longer development period, which was needed. Fintechs grew very fast because they picked up one use case and started solving for it. Now, we have reached to a stage wherein social commerce has also evolved. Newer ways are coming into the market, not only one marketplace, there are multiple marketplaces which are operating in the country. The way sellers deal with buyer could be done in multiple manner, and how in that contract stage, payments can be managed. This became very critical. Now, payment is one piece which has been solved for, I think, more than a decade by fintechs, cross-border payment. To name few, Wise, PayPal, and all have been operating in this market, but the charges are exorbitantly high. At the same time, they are not bothered about Indian compliances. The Reserve Bank of India, the Income Tax Authority, or the adherence that is required within Foreign Exchange Management Act has different requirement. A lot of banks try to develop internal platforms or solution to align their overall solutioning in a manner that compliances can also be taken care of. But fintechs, predominantly operating in this domain, never solve for the same. Because it is exporter's headache, not bank's headache. So this is the era we are calling cross-border 3.0, wherein beyond payment, it is the compliance also which will be embedded within the infrastructure. Let's look at BRISKPE. While technology-wise, Nilesh will talk in detail how we have built it. How BRISKPE has built the infrastructure, there is a core technology layer at the bottom. We all saw Finacle, which is powering and connecting all the service provider for a bank. Same way, any bank in India can connect with BRISKPE's core infrastructure solution. The infrastructure has multiple modules, which has a collection module, because the way we collect from global market is changing. Cards, wallets, virtual accounts, which may be issued in different geography, not directly handled by the Indian bank. Similarly, regulatory compliance module, which takes care of income tax, it takes care of your duty drawbacks, road tap and all. We may have heard those who deal with goods segment. They may have heard of road tap, or sometimes there are duty drawbacks and all if you do export. So these modules are also embedded so that beyond payment, the regulatory compliance can also be managed on the infrastructure. Then there is a payout module. Payout module, I'll not call it a very complex one, because most of the banks do have payout solutions available, but that is predominantly for domestic payments. How do we manage it when we get into different types of flow, particularly for cross-border? Then transaction monitoring. Compliance remains the underline, and that has to be done in a most effective manner. Most of the payments infrastructure provider today just talk about, I'll collect, I'll give you the money. The rest all don't ask me. While from the perspective of AML, they do probably sanction screening and PEP, but there are aspects beyond that also. If any one of you is in payments, you may have heard of velocity checks, the collusion, ghost transactions. All those things are also required to be taken care of. Sometimes you have to collect the basic underlying documents of the transaction to ascertain genuinity of the transaction. These are also required to be collated or taken. Gone are the days when people used to go to the bank branches and submit physical document. Oh, this is my purpose code, for this purpose I got. Then add 10 supporting documents, keep visiting the branch. Banks are trying to change, but the pace at which it has to change cannot be aided or supported with current infrastructural growth. That's where BRISKPE's cross-border infrastructure comes into the picture. There are components. BRISKPE also works with the merchants. And we have put in all the necessary service components or service provider within our infrastructure. So how it helps essentially anybody who is consuming our services in this manner. A bank, a payment aggregator, a PPI issuer says, I do not want your customer front end. Fine, you can use my APIs. You can, from the whole infrastructure piece, we can define a different process flow for your user onboarding. You want to use your own APIs for payouts, fine, don't use my APIs for payout. We'll just give you other components. My modules are pretty much there. You can collect and you can do everything by plugging with them. You want to have your own AWS server or Microsoft server or any other server where you handle the data? Absolutely fine. This is the regulatory requirement. So we have multi-tenant platform also. Though the transactions are being processed, but all the data is seen by you only. So you want to use my server? That is absolutely fine. It is multi-tenant. Nobody from my company also can see that. You want to host it in your server? Absolutely fine. That can be done. And you just want to use one component from my infrastructure. I'll use your infra and I'll use your service provider also. Fine, you can do that. Because global collection infrastructure, contracting, setup takes time. I also work with global bank. We also work with global banks. So you want to use our own virtual collection account infrastructure globally? You can use that. You say, I'll use 3 of your provider, 2 providers would be mine. Absolutely fine. That can be plugged to your instance. So that's how we have defined it. I'll hand it over to Nilesh to take you through some of the finer aspects of technology and product development.
Thank you. How many of you are still awake?
Very few hands.
Okay, yeah. So before I kind of go into, so obviously Indunath covered everything about what is the infrastructure and everything. I'm going to talk about in next 10 minutes or so, how did we build it? What principles did we choose? What was the path that we kind of adopted to get to that journey? Before that, I just wanted to quickly know how many of you are hardcore techie or into product development so that I can adjust my language. Very few. Okay, never mind. So I'll try and keep it.
They're all awake right now.
They're awake, and I'll try and keep it non-technical, so to say, as in not using tech jargon too much. So back to this. The first principle that we took while developing the whole infrastructure piece and the product development approach was eat your own dog food. What do you mean by this? Basically, when you want to roll out the infrastructure, the APIs to an external partner or somebody who's going to consume your whole of your payment infrastructure, you want to make sure that you've got every base covered, right? So the approach we took that, okay, we are going to go to the customers first, build our BRISKPE web app and mobile app right on top of our infrastructure as if the BRISKPE was itself a client, okay? So BRISKPE was one of the partners trying to consume these payments, cross-border payments infrastructure. So that's the first approach we took. That's how we have to think of product development. So that's where the eat your own dog food comes in. That first 2 years was just spent trying to build the whole mobile app, web app, trying to make sure that we build every API that is going to be required by external customers via this mobile or web app interface. So that's the first principle. It kind of naturally helped us to have a forced feedback loop because as you roll out a feature and then you figure out, oh, customers are asking for something else or this feature is not as that we thought that it should be used. So obviously you come back and then change stuff and then change your APIs and kind of rework, go back. So that helps you trying to eat your own dog food. Obviously you want to improve the food as well, right? As you kind of go through that process. So that was the main help of the eat your own dog food kind of principle that we took. The second was API first, API only approach. If we can think of a feature, we have to first think of an API. Okay, that's going to serve it rather than पहले ये screen ऐसे दिखेगा, this is how the screen is going to look, this is how the web interface is going to look, and then we are going to go down and look at, okay, now which API will force fit this or force feed this user interface. Rather than that, first let's think the API and then see what customers, how they are going to see this as an UX play, right? The whole API thing also helps us big time in observability, which is a big keyword these days with non-tech folks. This is mainly about trying to make sure your shop's running as it should. Okay, the API shop's running as it should, so it'll track API performance, it'll track API latencies, are your APIs going down, so on and so forth. So all of these observability is kind of built into the infrastructure layer. So if my partner is using my APIs, they will obviously, if they are facing an issue, my engineering team will also know quickly that this API is malfunctioning or it's running slow and so on and so forth. Right? The third piece is we've deployed a very robust AI platform. AI stands for Enterprise Application Integration Pattern. When you're talking about payments and fintechs, you're going to have to talk to multiple banks, multiple partners, multiple infrastructure providers in your country, outside your country, so on and so forth, right? Even if you want to do simple KYC, you're going to have to integrate with somebody who can talk to the Aadhaar and stuff like services. If you want to do KYB, then you're going to have to talk to the NSTL services, the MCA services, and so on and so forth. So it's very important to have a very robust AI platform in place. That's why we are very proud that right from the word grow, we built a very strong AI platform. This helps us kind of integrate with our external banking partners, external fintech partners, external compliance partners, and you name it, in largely 2 weeks. If the APIs on the other side are very stable and very comprehensive, we don't take a lot of time in integrating with them. So that was the other principle we kind of got right in the beginning. The final one is whole thing has to be STP and back office friendly in trying to make a great app and web app and stuff like that. People often forget that there's a back office that's also a user or stakeholder of your infrastructure and your various functions. So like compliance or transaction processing or reconciliation and stuff like that. They also need information and data access and stuff like that. So access or availability of APIs for these functions also has to be they have to be treated like first-class citizens rather than an afterthought. Otherwise, you will see in a lot of places, especially financial institutes, banks and all, I don't want to kind of bitch about anyone, but basically you do see that there's a huge back office bloat in terms of manual stuff that goes around. So even if the payment's happening digitally from the app, there's a lot of manual people touching the payment, doing compliance, doing recon, etc. And then the payment goes out of the door. So the whole straight-through processing, or the STP as we call it, was the principle that we adopted, that from day one we have to make sure that it's not many manual people or manual interventions are required before a payment comes in and goes out. So that was one of the kind of tenet we took. And that also kind of provides for hyper automation. Every time we see an ops person or a compliance person doing anything manually, we'll sit down with them and say, what do you actually do when you do this process? And we'll try and see if we can automate that and kind of take that workload off, put it into automatic thing. Obviously helps us with reduced manual intervention, human errors, and so forth. So that's the kind of, those are some of the product development principles we took while building the whole infrastructure piece. The software development, I saw not many are techies, so I'm not going to go deep into this, but the whole thing is microservices based, as Indu was showing that there are various blocks and you can pick and choose each and every block of the Lego piece. If you only want my compliance engine, here you go. If you only want my KYB piece, here you go. Okay, stuff like that. So microservices based approach or architecture helps you do that in technology world, right? So that keeps the overall structure and design of the system very modular and very scalable. The whole thing is you have to be compliant, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Again, a lot of shared services, we've spoken about this. This is an important thing, DevSecOps. We've tried to keep everything in terms of, so our software gets used by not only by us, as in the dog food, we are one of the consumers of the dog food, but there are other consumers who use our infrastructure in terms of API layer and stuff like that. And whenever we are rolling out a new feature, we are rolling out a bug fix or anything, we make sure that the partners get the release at the same time. So this is completely DevSecOps, end-to-end pipelines, no-touch deployments and stuff like that, to ensure that when I get a new feature, my app gets a new feature, my consumers get a new feature. If you are a partner, your consumers also will get the same feature at the same time. And all of this happens automatically. The deployment is like kind of one click. The security is inbuilt. We are into finance world, or we're dealing in dollars and stuff like that. You have to make sure security is not just an afterthought. You have to bake it into your kind of pipeline. So as the code is getting processed and deployed and kind of thing, we make sure we run all these scans and checks that need to be done on the code to make sure it's secure and reliable, right? So those are some of the software development principles that we have put into building this infrastructure layer. And finally, this is how the overall architecture looks, okay? We have bunch of core platform services that we talk about. This is our kind of shop, right? And around the shop, you're going to see the partner integrations. We have banks who we connect to. We have payment provider services we connect to. We have compliance service providers we connect to. We have fraud detection engines we connect to, so on and so forth. So all of that is right at the bottom. And the consumer layer is where actual consumer comes in. They might use our app directly. They might use our web app. They might use our APIs. They might use an app which is built by my partner using my infrastructure APIs. Okay, or they might use a white label solution that we provide. So if you are a payment, so let's say if you have a huge customer base, you're doing something completely different. For example, just to take few names, like Ninja Card is one of our customers. They are into agro import and export. So they have their own presence, but for cross-border payments, they thought of leveraging us. Okay, so that's where we rolled out a white label platform just for them. So it'll have everything of what I do for my clients, but it'll have Ninja Card kind of white labeling and logo and stuff like that. So, so the point being here, everything of that sits right at the top, consuming this infrastructure piece that Indunath spoke at length about. Finally, we have the whole thing is, you want to end this one?
Yeah, so as Nilesh spoke about, the whole thought in our mind was, how can we make this infrastructure scalable? Irrespective of which entity in India wants to launch this solution, whether they are licensed, they are unlicensed. If they are licensed, they want to use my global collection and do not want to use my payout services. They want to use just technology, everything of their own, or even banks. This platform is available to everyone, and we are proud to say we are the only one to have launched this in the country. So even if any one of you, say, operating in Nigeria, want to launch something new like this in Nigeria, which may be market first, you can use our technology infrastructure, whole wallet infrastructure, payout and all, go and launch over there. What you need is a license in Nigeria, because of course we don't have license in Nigeria. So we are trying to make it in a manner that information is completely available with you. The platform is available with you in the way and manner you want, whether you are a direct exporter who want to use my services, or direct importer, you can use my services, or you are a PSP, you can use my infrastructure the way you want. Security and backend also operates in this same manner. So a lot of time what happens that reselling piece is something that I spoke about. There could be players who may have taken the backend services and want to sell it to 5 different players. But the data, there is a new DPDP Act also which has come in, and data has to be secured. There is a GDPR compliance when you are talking about cross-border payment for European customers or UK-based customer. You have to take care of that as well. So our platform is completely certified as per GDPR. We are aligned with DPDP Act. The way front end is segregated, back end is also segregated. So some of the platforms that Nilesh mentioned about, Ninja Card, RemitoPay, Decentro, these are some of the consumers of our platform who are selling the solution in the market. The way their white label and customer front end is segregated, the back end is also segregated. They get to choose whether the back office piece, for example, for RemitoPay customer, cannot be seen in BRISKPE, fine. It will be, access will be given to their people only. They can only access that data. And everything is segregated. So there is a very strong RBAC which has been prepared. So it is completely role-based back office also. So data is not compromised at any point of time. So this is the underlying, and we would like to end with that. We have 3 solutions. We have booth on ground floor, Z7, Z8. Please meet us. We have a section specifically for service exporter, goods exporter. Another section for importers. We can work with all the overseas corporates and PSP to provide them API integration, bulk payout, bulk collection capability. And we have XPI. If you just want to use my infrastructure, we call it cross-border payments infrastructure. That's the full form of XPI. Happy to connect with you, discuss at length and detail the way you want to consume our services. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah, you can do it.
When you are delivering APIs to your customers, how do you manage the control of different versions? Because not every customer, suppose there are few customers who have already gone live. Okay, do they keep receiving the new releases of your APIs every now and then? Or you maintain different versions? And if you maintain different versions, then how? What is the strategy?
So basically, I mean, obviously through versioning, right? But the 2 kinds of changes you will have, or 3 kinds of changes you will have. One is an obvious bug fix, which obviously everyone gets. The second one is when the API contract itself is going to change. Okay, in that case, you're going to version it, and then through the REST interface itself, you have the versioning. And if they want to switch to the new version to avail of the new features, then obviously they have to kind of start consuming the new APIs while we kind of continue to maintain the old API so that the older clients or older partners do not end up breaking anything, right? And third is where there's a hard contract change that happens. Obviously, that again is a version change. And there are certain times you just have optional JSON fields that you want to kind of provide them with. This is new information as part of the same old API. In that case, generally we do not change the version. We just pass it as part of the existing contract.
I have another question. So there are several cross-border payment solutions. Wise, PayPal, banks are providing it, Razorpay is providing it, Cashfree is providing it. The challenge is for bigger amounts, let's say bigger than $10,000, and if the payment is coming from, let's say, US, they have multiple hopping stations, banking partners, and after that it comes to India. So two challenges we have. Some of the credit card companies do not consider Indian entities as legitimate. So the moment the transaction has been initiated, even after using international certified payment solutions, it gets rejected right away. 3DS, I'm not even talking about 3DS. Then after hopping in, it takes, let's say, 5 to 6 days to come here. PayPal sometimes blocks the payment for 21 days. So these are the challenges which an exporter is facing in India. How is BRISKPE different, and how competitive it is as compared to, let's say, Wise.com or PayPal?
So I'll talk about that. First and foremost, changing the regulatory guideline of overseas country is not in control of either PayPal or even BRISKPE. Those regulatory guidelines have to be adhered to. The way we have worked on this, that transactions do not go through multiple hops, is by way of setting up direct contracts with overseas banks and domestic banks. By way of doing this, we bypass all the intermediaries. So to take an example, your question pertains not to XPI, but merchant solution that we have offered in the market wherein customers are directly using our services. When you get the international account, it is directly with me, with my banking partner. I control the funds. Everything comes to me. There could be compliance concerns, of course, because I also have to adhere to regulatory requirements. But the moment funds are received, it gets processed, and you get to fulfill all the settlement requirement on the flight or in advance also. So proud to say, more than 70% of our transactions are settled in less than 18 hours. International transactions, which on the other hand, banks are typically settling between 2 to 7 days, or PayPal example you just mentioned. Card, of course, takes time. T+2 is the settlement timeline. So somebody wants to do it earlier, they have to use their own funds. But without using our own funds, 70% plus transactions are settled in less than 18 hours. So that's the kind of speed we have to got. We got. Cost, of course, we are very competitive. I'll not bleed, you will not bleed. Both of us will make a profitable business if we work together. Somebody burning money, I can't help it. So that's how we operate. We'll not make a deal which is like out of $100 that you are earning, you are paying $6 to $8 to the payment player. You can redeploy that in your business. So when we started with 0.75% as the starting price, which goes down. We have gone down as low as 10 bips also if there are volumes upwards of $1 million or so. So commercial, again, it's a bilateral discussion. What is your current commercial and what would it be with us?
I'll just add on that. So the whole process is made transparent because we are heavily into this API thing that I mentioned about. We're very deeply connected with the partners that we collect funds from. So on the app, if you go to BRISKPE, if you've received money in US, you will automatically get a notification right here that your money in US is received. With Swift and all, you won't get that transparency today, and unlikely that you'll get that in future as well, or in near future, I would say. But that is the transparency you will get this app. That as soon as once an exporter comes to me, opens an account with me, we'll issue a local virtual account, as this is like a US account in your name operated by us. Okay. So the moment money hits the virtual account of yours, once you have a payment coming in, I'll receive a notification from my banking partner, which the notification I'll capture and I'll pass it on to you on web app, email, whatever mode of communication that you choose to receive information from me, basis that, right? So that's the first level of transparency. You've got the money in US, so you are secured there. You're not following up with your peer. Aapne paisa bheja ki nahi? Where's the money? I don't know. Send me the UTR. All of that is kind of cut out. The second step is generally when you are receiving money as a solo or smaller business, you will get a very different rate in market than what typically a bulk player will get. So we are able to get these rates and wholesale rates, and then we are able to pass these FX rates to kind of our smaller, the businesses with smaller sizes, right? So that's the second thing that comes in. And third, generally we, as Indunath mentioned, we settle like more than 70 to 80% payments are either STP, as in no touch. We won't ask you for documentation because you've done your due diligence upfront. So we don't need too many documents later on, right? So that means we are able to settle within 18 hours. Some of the GBP and Euro payments we settle within 10 hours. That's the speed we operate at. So all combination of all of this definitely gives you a much better feature set and transparency.
And chargeback and all is something buyer-seller contract. Of course, there are safeguarding mechanism provided by Master, Visa, or other network service providers. That has to be adhered to by you and me both. That's the reality. But yes, wherever the controls are available and we are able to shorten it, we have done that. The same thing is available in our infrastructure solution as well. The way we look at it, where all we can reduce time. So every time we do, a check, self-check, we speak with our customers and we tell them, why don't you use this competition? And they say, kya bol rahe ho yaar? Aap mere ko competition, use it. Same buyer, get the money at the same time from me and from my competition, and see the settlement time and everything. When do you get the inward notification? When do you get the money? And we have reduced, as compared to any other player in the market, the time by 60%. So if somebody is settling it in 10 days, we are settling in 4 days. That is the kind of comparison. So that's the check we do almost every month, and we see where is the delay happening. Why is this delay happening? 30% payments still go on that outer line because there is a FEMA, there is a regulatory compliance requirement which all of us have to adhere to. I'm responsible, you are also responsible by the law of land. So that's what we also keep checking.
The actual routing is done by you, like these hops in any FX transaction.
So we'll cut out the hops. That's our business.
So that is your
Yeah, that's our business. That's where we are optimizing. That's where we are disrupting and optimizing.
Can I ask a question?
You will definitely have an AD1 in between, right? And they will use the Swift.
Hello?
Not in between. That ways, yeah.
Huh?
So, would you still be able to cut down the time that Swift takes usually?
See,
Or is there any other infrastructures?
so if we talk about Swift, essentially Swift does not take time, it's messaging platform. The settlement happens between the banks, right? The moment MT103 or any other messaging is generated, the counterparty bank is able to see the same. Whether their ops team is there to see that or not is something very different. There is a banker behind you. So, and she would agree with the same, that if I remitted money from US at 10 p.m. as per India time, they will be able to check it the moment it is punched into the system that it is there. It's more of a time zone gap which is causing this delay, and this time zone gap, how people are reducing the same. Some offices open next day 10 a.m. in the morning, then they will pick up file, ops team will look at by 2 o'clock. I've worked with banks, I'll not name any bank, but work with Citi and ICICI predominantly, and across the banks we saw a common problem. Though funds are received at the night, operations team picks up the file by 2 o'clock, then you will get the notification by 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and then you will see, oh wow, I received my fund. You call up treasury desk, today's cutoff is over, sir. Take the rates tomorrow. And when you go and take the rate, you say, no, you have not given the purpose code to the bank. So again, why to get into so much of hassles? Why to depend on so much of operations backend? That's what Nilesh spoke about. We keep identifying problem every day. Where did we spend that extra minute in settlement of the time? Every day we review the transactions settled for last day. We look at the time logs. When were the funds received? When was it credited to the customer? As in when the notification was triggered, was there a delay in that notification trigger? 2 minutes, why? We have to work on real-time message triggering. Okay, is it delayed by Gmail or Hotmail or our message service provider? We keep identifying those issues and try to keep perfecting the same.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So JP Morgan has a platform called Onyx, blockchain-based platform. It supports real-time transfer of cross-border payments. How does your product compare to that?
So we're not into real-time payments. We are obviously limited by the Swift rails, to a certain extent.
Right.
Blockchaining, when you say it's real-time, I mean, obviously, when RBI relaxes kind of norms for us, we are going to
You could have an office in Gift City and you could do cross-border payment from there. What is it stopping you?
We can't reveal all the trade secrets right here.
No, but also,
Maybe I'll talk about it.
like one more thing, actually, Swift payments are costlier, right? You're doing one-on-one Swift payments every time.
No, we're not. We're not. So we are bulking up this Swift
You're
payments.
bulking up, actually. Then there's a delay, of course.
There's delay, yes,
There
of
will be
course.
delay.
We're not allowed pre-funding, right?
Okay.
And we're not allowed blockchaining as an alternative to this Swift. So that's a regulatory restriction we have to live by.
So ask a question from you. I would like to ask a
Yeah,
question
please.
and I'll get it clarified. You mentioned about JP Morgan using blockchain for the payment. It's a fantastic technology, and in fact, most of the foreign banks are using that technology in the markets where they are doing it. See, trade transactions, the ISO 220, 222, these messaging platforms are coming. So current empty messaging platform that we see will
So
go
it will
away.
go eventually.
Yeah. So these ISO messaging platform would be there. It's just the messaging platform. And the settlement of the time today also, the whole concept of Nostro and Vostro are such that your accounts are there and their accounts are here, right? It's just the mirror entries which are getting passed.
That's correct.
The challenge is with respect to FX conversion. If we look into the real problem, can we operate the world with, say, CBDCs or cryptos? Yes, it can run, but there should not be any FX conversion involved. Because the moment you talk about FX conversion, either treasury desk across all the banks should be open 24/7.
See, if you are very concerned about the FX conversion, your desk could take a position at the beginning of the day.
I'm not talking about conversion. See, when you are talking about taking a position, right? Okay, so let's talk about this. Taking a position, traditional Hawala transactions that we see in the market.
No, not like that.
I'm just talking about that. I'm just talking about that. Somebody giving money in X geography, somebody getting money in Y geography. Are the funds actually getting transferred? It's not. There's a netting which is happening. So look at the regulation. Is the netting between banks or payment aggregators allowed? India, no. Some of the geographies allowed. Is CBDC is available in retail or domestic use cases, not in cross-border today. Cryptos are not allowed today. So the day that gets allowed, my whole infrastructure is designed in such a manner. I think we didn't present it over here because, of course, a lot of questions that come over there. The platform is ready to handle even CBDC. It's just a mode of payment. The reason there are delays or time that is required for the settlement is because dependency on Swift and all. The day I adopt to a different messaging platform, Nilesh mentioned about plugging some of the platforms in 2 days. So we would like to highlight, we went live with 2 collection partners in 2 days. We signed a contract, they said APIs are available, we just plugged their APIs and went live. It's not 2 to 3 months timeline. So regulation has to enable the same. Our technology infrastructure is there. We can plug anything and everything. You choose the components where you want to plug what.
Thank you.
Thank you.